Two-step inequalities. Recall first that when we use a greater than or less than sign, we're going to have an open circle on our graph. And if it's a greater than or equal to or less than or equal to, it's going to be a closed circle on our graph. So just remember that, because we're going to be using that throughout the rest of this chapter. If you multiply or divide by a negative number, you must also flip the inequality symbol. That's something else that we discussed. Alright, so remember, only if you multiply or divide by a negative number. So let's solve 3x plus 2 is greater than negative 4. So first thing I'm going to do is opposite of plus is minus 2 from both sides, giving me 3x is greater than negative 6. Then the next step is to divide, because 3x means multiply, divide by a 3, divide by a 3. So x is greater than negative 2. So 0, and negative 2 is right here, and it is an open circle because it is not an or equal to, and x is greater than that. So I'm going to shade greater than negative 2. So there's my graph. For this next example, we have y divided by 2 minus 3 is less than or equal to 2. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite it just so that it makes more sense to me. Y over 2 minus 3 is less than or equal to 2. And now I can see that I need to add the 3 to both sides, leaving me with y divided by 2 is less than or equal to 5. And then I multiply both sides by 2 so that those cancel out, leaving me with y is less than or equal to 10. And that's my final answer. So I graph that. Going by 2's there. So if y is less than or equal to 10, on 10 I'm going to have a filled in circle because it's or equal to, and it's anything less than that. So that is my graph. And I'm done. Next example, 3x plus 4 is greater than or equal to negative 11. So I'm going to start by subtracting the 4 from both sides, canceling that out. 3x is greater than or equal to negative 11 minus 4 is negative 15. The next step is to divide by 3. So x is greater than or equal to a negative 5. And if I graph that, x is greater than or equal to negative 5. So negative 5, I'm going to fill in the circle on the graph because it's or equal to, and it's bigger than that. So I'm going to draw it bigger. Any number that's bigger than negative 5. So there's your final graph. For number 4, I have 42 is greater than negative 7y plus 14. So my first step is to get rid of the 14. So I'm going to subtract 14 because that's the constant term from both sides, leaving me with 42 minus 14, which is 28, which is greater than negative 7y. Next step, divide by negative 7. I'm dividing by negative 7, so I have to do something with my inequality sign, do it to both sides. So what I have is 28 divided by 7, which is a negative 4. And then I'm going to flip the inequality symbol. So now it's a less than sign, and my variable is y. So I could write it like that, or I could write it as y is greater than negative 4. Either one is correct. So if y is greater than negative 4, on negative 4 I'm going to have an open circle, and it's going to be numbers bigger, so any positive number, so shade to the positive side. And that would be your final answer. Number 5, negative 4 is less than or equal to y divided by negative 2 minus 14. So I'm going to start by rewriting this as negative 4 is less than or equal to y divided by negative 2 minus 14, because it's a little bit more readable. Alright, start by adding 14 to both sides. That cancels out, leaving me with a positive 10 is less than or equal to y over negative 2. Then I multiply by negative 2, both sides. And I have negative 2 times 10, which is a negative 20. And then I need to remember that I multiplied by a negative, so I have to flip my inequality symbol. And y. So I could rewrite that as y is less than or equal to negative 20, or you could leave it as negative 20 is greater than or equal to y. Both of them are correct. So I'm going to graph that. And I'm going by tens on my graph. So at negative 20, I have a closed circle because it is or equal to, and y is less than negative 20, so I'm going to go smaller numbers, so more negative. So that is what my graph is going to look like. In the last example, 3 is greater than or equal to x divided by 4 plus 2, or we could write it as 3 is greater than or equal to x over 4 plus 2. Start by subtracting the 2, and I get 1. 3 minus 2 is 1, is greater than or equal to x over 4. So I have to multiply both sides by 4. And 4 is greater than or equal to x, or x is less than or equal to 4. Either one is correct. Alright, and my graph, I am looking for x is less than or equal to 4. So I find 4 and less than or equal to, so I fill in my circle, and it's anything less than that. And that is your final graph. So those are your notes over two-step inequalities. Go through some practice problems. Make sure that you can do these. Make sure you're careful about your signs and whether you have to have closed circles or open circles on your graphs. And then you should be ready for your quiz over this material.